I am Jewish. When Hitler came to power on January 30th, 1933, I was 8 years old. My parents very quickly realized that Germany was no longer a safe place for Jews. Nur raus, just get out, I remember were my father's words. They were willing to go anywhere in the world except Palestine. Year after passing year, the persecution of Jews increased. Jewish businesses were boycotted. My father's business was closed by the Nazis, a business that my great-grandfather started in 1858. Crystal Night, or the Night of the Broken Glass, November 9th and 10th, 1938. I was unceremoniously kicked out of school by the principal, who shouted, "Get out, you dirty Jew!" When I came home, our home had been ransacked. My father had been arrested. I saw him later that day being marched down the street in his pajamas, together with other Jews. My father returned home from the concentration camp Dachau after 4 weeks, an old, broken, sick man. On May 18, 1939, I left Germany on a kinder transport, or children's transport, to England. My parents' last words as they put me on the train, "We will see each other again soon." This was the last time I saw them. They and other family members were deported on October 22, 1940, and finally to Auschwitz in the summer of 1942, where they perished. By sending me to England, my parents literally gave me life a second time. These formative experiences have been the leading influence behind my efforts since my teenage years to fight for and promote human rights and social justice. I came to the United States in May 1948, the same month that Israel became a state. I had mixed feelings. On one hand, I was glad that there was a place where survivors of the Holocaust could go to because they could not or chose not to go back to their places of origin. On the other hand, remembering my parents' reservations, I was afraid that somewhere down the road, no good would come of this. What that might be, I could not possibly imagine. In 1982, I learned about the massacres in the 2 refugee camps of Sabra and Shatila in Lebanon, and consequently, I set out to find out what had happened there and what happened between 1948 and 1982, when I paid little or no attention to that part of the world. And as I learned and understood more, I became increasingly concerned and upset with the policies and practices of the Israeli government and military. I began to speak out publicly against these policies and practices. Fast forward. In 2003, I was in the Israeli-occupied West Bank for the first time. I've been back there 4 more times since then to witness on the ground what Israel's occupation of Palestinian people and land means. Each time, I found the situation worse. Yet the dignity and hope of the Palestinian people has never waned. They are truly an amazing people who have opened their homes for me to stay with them and have cared for me lovingly. Unlike the Israeli security people at Ben Gurion Airport, who have strip searched and internally searched me. Unlike the Israeli soldiers in the Palestinian village of Bilin, who greet the weekly nonviolent demonstrations which have taken place for the past 5 years with live ammunition, rubber-coated steel bullets, sound bombs, and tear gas. More than 60% of Bilin's farmland has been lost to the construction of the wall and nearby settlements. During one of those demonstrations, a sound bomb went off near me, and I lost some of my hearing. I'm joined in this hearing loss by the Palestinian children in Gaza, many of whom have severe hearing loss because Israeli planes fly over Gaza, purposely breaking the sound barrier. After Senate Bill 118A was approved, I sent an email to President Will Smelko asking him not to veto the resolution, and after he did veto it, citing concern that it discriminates against certain communities, meaning Jews, I had to come here to say that President Smelko does not speak for me. No. Nor for over 20 Jewish and Israeli organizations who endorsed this bill and whose members sent him more than 1,000 emails, nor for many more in the Jewish community, some of whom are present here tonight, or some who could not be here or here in spirit in support of this bill. The presidential veto and other critics of the bill claimed that it purported to support divestment from war crimes, but unfairly singled out Israel. Throughout its 62 years of existence, Israel has been in flagrant violation of international law, even some of its own laws, the Fourth Geneva Convention, more than 70 UN and Security Council resolutions, besides 32 US vetoed Security Council resolutions. Last year's military assault on Gaza amounted to war crimes were all confirmed by the UN's Goldstone Commission report. 62 years make not only Israel culpable, but all of us who stand idly by or who veto resolutions like the one before us. I've lived 85 years, and I've not witnessed one other war crime theater allowed to exist for this long. Opponents of the divestment strategy claim that it ignores the complexity of the conflict, is not effective, and alienates the moderate voices in Israel, and condones terrorism. I've heard these arguments before. In 1985, US President Ronald Reagan vetoed a Senate bill restricting economic activity within apartheid South Africa. His administration coined the phrase constructive engagement, namely dialogue with the white South African ruling establishment, a carrot without a stick. The US House and Senate rejected the president's rationale and voted with 80% majorities to override the president's veto. The rest is history, and you should follow this example. As people of conscience, you have a moral obligation to support the oppressed in the occupied territories in Gaza and inside Israel. Don't let anyone tell you that doing so is an assault on the Jewish community. In reality, the Jewish tradition is one where we stand on the side of the oppressed. Don't let anyone tell you that this is none of your business. Join the growing number of US and global society organizations, student bodies, celebrities, investment banks, pension funds, asset managers, and many others who have already endorsed or enacted these measures. To paraphrase a Jewish philosopher, the question now is not if, but when. It is time for Berkeley to reaffirm its commitment to the struggle for social justice. So do the right thing. Override this veto. Thank you.